Thanks for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nigerian News Direct. And the major story here says that 2023 general election aftermath. Anti-party activities divide political parties. The riders here say as chieftains of parties suffered disciplinary action. Ward lashes Deputy Senate President Omoagege with expulsion. Say he worked against party during presidential election for his Guba bid. You find all the details on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. We move now to the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Afenifere Ohaneze, Arewa youth reject interim government plot. Afenifere Ohaneze, Arewa youth reject interim government plot. All the details on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. To the front page of the Leadership newspaper now. 10th NAS leadership, that's the National Assembly leadership. Opposition parties brace for tough fight with APC. We will go with party that shares our ideology, NNPP is speaking. We are still monitoring development. Labour Party is speaking. PDP alliance plot suffers setback as Wike Ibori back Wase. Well, North Central, Southwest senators will be the decider. That's all the details. You find all the details, rather, on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. To the First News newspaper now, fresh crisis brews in APC over party finances as a National Working Committee member Knox Adamu asks him to account for billions of naira realized from sales of forms. Accuses APC chairman of taking unilateral decision at the expense of the National Working Committee. All the details on the front page of the First News newspaper. To the Tribune now. Gunshots in Port Harcourt as APC PDP supporters clash. Gunshots in Port Harcourt as APC PDP supporters clash. All right. We move now to the front page of the Punch newspaper. Military vows crackdown on security threats, warn IPOB others. Military vows crackdown on security threats, warn IPOB others. You find the details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And some writers here, nobody should threaten integrity of Nigeria, truncate democracy. Defense Headquarters Army Chief speaking. APC asks Biden to disregard anti-Tinubu petitions as protesters demonstrate in U.S. Politicians rooting there. You find all the details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Mike?
Right, I have this day here, and it says, Yahaya, Army will contain all threats to nation sovereignty. That's what Yahaya Bello, the governor of Kogi State, is quoted as saying this day there. The Nation newspaper is next, and it says, governors and governors-elect at war over funds project. Governors-elect at war over funds project. All right, you find that on the front page of the Nation newspaper. From there, let's go to Independent. The Daily Independent says Adamu Misere have reduced APC National Working Committee to rubber stamp. Adamu Misere have reduced APC National Working Committee to rubber stamp. All right. National Working Committee members the member wants Tinubu against religious insensitivity and autocracy. All right. All that on the front page of the Daily Independent. This Nigeria is next. This Nigeria says Auditor General's report indicts 558 federal agencies. Auditor General report indicts 558 federal agencies. MDAs failed to disclose 969 billion naira in tangible assets details in budget. Okay, all that is found on the front page of this Nigeria. From there, let's go to Blueprint. Blueprint newspaper, less than 3 months away, cautious optimism fears trail planned fuel subsidy removal. Cautious optimism fears trail planned fuel subsidy removal. Nigeria's annual revenue will increase by 6 trillion naira, CPPE is saying this. And there's sustaining present subsidy, a huge drain on the economy. George Okoli is saying this, right? From there, let's go to Daily Trust. Despite dollar restriction, Nigeria imports 300 billion naira palm oil in 6 years. Nigeria imports 300 billion naira palm oil in 6 years. Gets supply from Malaysia, India, China, Cameroon. A barrel sells for over $600. Okay, you find that on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. Business Days next. Subsidy stranded crude robbed Nigeria of gain in OPEC plus cuts. Subsidy stranded crude robbed Nigeria of gains in OPEC plus cut. Right. That's what you see on the front page of Business Day. Renika?
All right, Mike, let's look at this matter of interim government. If you look at some of the papers this morning, we have seen how 3 leading groups from the geopolitical zones, talking about Afenifere, Ohaneze, Arewa youth, have rejected the plot. They have condemned in strong terms, if I may use that word, statements coming out of persons calling for interim government. And even the Defense Headquarters has come out to also speak that it would defend the integrity of the government, of the Nigerian state, if anything is to happen, so to speak. But it is good that we are getting the statement from these 3 geopolitical zones, seeing that they wield some level of influence. In fact, Ohanes and Digbo has said that they are not part of this plot and that they are even planning to attend the inauguration of the president-elect.
Yeah, the point there is, it is unfortunate that anyone who feels aggrieved from the election that just concluded would make any statement of that kind, because it is treasonable to begin to talk about a system that should not run. You're implying that the constitution should be set aside. You're implying that the military should take over. You're implying that the democratic process should be truncated. People have died. People have sacrificed so much to ensure that we have the democracy we have now.
Absolutely.
So if we have, especially in the Fourth Republic, if we have come this far and we're trying to refine the system, and those who are even calling for the so-called interim government have been around to know that whatever the thing is, this is a far, far, far better situation than elections in 2003, elections in 2007, and subsequent elections, as the case may be. Of course, nobody is saying anything is perfect. Nobody is saying there were no irregularities across the country. Nobody is saying that people didn't die or people didn't feel dissatisfied. But the point there is that go to court with all of the evidence of the cases that you have and wait for the courts to decide whatever is the outcome. We've seen cases where we have, like we were mentioning sometime, we have off-season election for about 8 or 9 states in this country because of the tribunal upturning elections. So go to court with the evidence that you have. The courts know what to do after that time. That is the only process. That is the only acceptable standard that is set by law for anybody who is aggrieved to seek redress. So calling for interim government or calling for mass protest or calling for all is totally unacceptable to most Nigerians, and is in fact even for not just Nigerians but even friends of Nigerians who have been watching, looking up to Nigeria, that by this next dispensation or by subsequent elections in Nigeria, they are learning from this country. They are seeing how they can rely on Nigeria to better their own lot. All of them will not support an institution where people are calling for interim national government. Yeah. We knew the circumstance that led to an interim government in this country.
We had the conversation yesterday.
Exactly.
Right.
We knew the circumstance. So we cannot go back to that circumstance anymore. We have to move forward. Whatever the thing is, Lessons have been learned. INEC itself, as an institution, would have done a post-mortem on itself to know what they did right and what they did wrong. The political parties should do the same. Sit down and look at...
Speak with your supporters.
Yes, and look at what happened at the election. How do we ensure we move forward? Even the federal government itself would have sat down to look at the post-mortem. National Assembly, all of them. So everybody should sit down and do a post-mortem and then come out with a communique. Whatever the thing is, you can strategize towards the next election. That is the option left. But, however, a case that is in court, of course, allow the court to come out
run its course.
With
I mean, if you do not trust the courts, why did you take it there in the first place?
So that's the thing. So the issue of...
a legal luminary has said that let the tribunal decide the petitions before May the 29th.
Yes.
Perhaps to allow things, taper down before May the 29th. But we do hope that everything will be sorted before then.
That's even the idea of the difference. It is almost 3 months between the day of election and the day of swearing in, so that all these legal issues can be looked into.
Resolved.
That's the idea.
Right. Let's